The Star-Spangled Banner, a tune that carries the heart of all Americans. It can erupt a crowd into song. It brings Americans together. But do you know that it was written when we won our independence? What if I told you that our great nation wouldn't have its inspirational national anthem for another 30, maybe 35 years? Did you know we were invaded by the British twice? Did you know they burnt the White House down to the ground? Did you also know that this war would set motions forward that would turn America into the powerhouse it is today? The War of 1812, also known as the Second War for Independence, is an often glanced at part of history that not many Americans know much of. Yet, the results of this short-lived war can be felt throughout the century that followed. It all started shortly after America won its independence from Britain. America was a new country, and we were still a new government figuring out how to coexist with each other. Remember, at this time, Americans didn't see themselves as, well, Americans just yet, but that would soon change. As we were figuring out how to run our new country, France and Britain were still in hot water with each other, and England was still angry about the recent revolution, as well as our continued trade cooperation with France. Relations became so bad between America and Britain that they actually detained American trade ships, fined them heavily, and even arrested and forced their sailors into indentured servitude in their navy. Also at this time, Napoleon is in the middle of his conquest of Europe and is in no position to have any concerns over American affairs. Eventually, this ends back into the American Congress and Senate. Tensions rise as factions are divided between those who want diplomatic solutions and those who want to take Britain on in war. These politicians were called the War Dogs. This all changed on June 18th, 1812, when Britain attacked the U.S. at the Battle of Tippecanoe. This sparked a 2-year war that cost thousands of lives and almost burnt our country to the ground, both figuratively and literally. However, after 2 hard years of fighting, the Americans were prevailing. General Andrew Jackson and his army successfully defended New Orleans, a major source of trade and commerce, and would later be elected president from his fame from his big battles. One of the biggest battles of the war started on September 12, 1814, the Battle of Baltimore. The Battle of Baltimore was a sea and land battle fought between British invaders and American defenders in the War of 1812. American forces repulsed sea and land invasions off the busy port city of Baltimore, Maryland, and killed the commander of the invading British forces. The British and Americans first met at the Battle of North Point. Though the Americans retreated, the battle was a successful delaying action that inflicted heavy casualties on the British, halted their advance, and consequently allowed the defenders at Baltimore to properly prepare for an attack. The resistance of Baltimore's Fort McHenry during bombardment by the Royal Navy inspired Francis Scott Key to compose the poem Defense of Fort McHenry, which later became the lyrics for the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States. This led to an interesting time for America. National pride was at an all-time high. This era was called the Era of Good Feelings. Everyone got along. Americans were happy. We also decided to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world, a period called isolationism. Put into place after the war, we put forward our policy of non-interventionism to the rest of the world. We wouldn't interfere with anyone else's affairs if they stay out of ours. This led to America having to rely on itself for resources and goods, creating a manufacturing economic boom. Native Americans also took a huge hit from the results of the war, since the Native Americans were allied and very supported by Britain. American colonists and Native American relations started to take a turn for the worse, eventually leading to the Great Migration and the Trail of Tears. This period of isolation would continue on all the way up until the 20th century during World War I. Before that, we had stayed out of foreign affairs. However, the sinking of the Lusitania brought the U.S. into the war and back into the world playground. So many important things happened due to the results of this war, yet it's rarely talked about by the general public. In the end, we suffered great losses, but also gained great rewards, where we shortly became a global superpower.